Adam Sandler.
Check.
Yep.
Check.
Nice.
Hello, old man. You ready to beat me today?
All right. 5, 4, 3.
Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It's lunchtime in Rome. Tonight's episode 219 is entitled Family History. What was your family like? What was it like growing up? Tonight at the table, we will be asking questions about life growing up. Join us and answer the questions for yourself. Most are serious, some are hilarious. Was your childhood healthy or was it complicated? So pull up a seat and join us at the table. And first-time listeners, you can subscribe on your favorite podcast app or watch us live or later at youtube.com/lunchtime in Rome. Visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. And while there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Make sure to follow us on all social media. And it would be great if you gave us a 5-star review. Jay, what is this podcast about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse when you are all alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That is what this podcast is all about. We try to keep people from being alone. We demonstrate that in the first 15 minutes of the podcast. We talk about it for the rest. While it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is lunchtime in Rome. Or lunchtime in Naples, where Tyler and Kira are. Napoli.
You know, anywhere in Italy, it's
and
fine.
Not Naples, Florida.
No, that's where retired people are. So
That's exciting. Yeah, I just that they're there.
Oh, yeah.
How long are they there?
Week.
That's awesome.
Mostly unplugged. I mean, you got to make your Instagram posts, but
For the gram.
for the gram.
Yeah. So I was talking to my friend Matt, who we all know, who's going to sit with us physically at the table at some point.
Cool.
And we were just talking about being a kid growing up and like anticipating fun things. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, he and I share the love of video games. And I just remember waiting for the Game Informer, like the new Game Informer to come out. And like you look through like the new games that were going to be coming out in the months ahead, and
Hubert.
you'd be looking at the reviews of the games so you knew which ones were the good ones to play.
He wasn't even born then, Jay.
I know Hubert. I've played Hubert. It's a good game. It's
You, sir,
hard. It's actually really
no
hard.
Hubert.
But there was like, so there's the level of what are we doing?
I remember Dukakis.
Go ahead.
So there was the level of like anticipation, like for the thing that you were looking for, and then there was the anticipation for it to come out, and like there's none of that today. And I know I'm saying something obvious, but like what kind of dawned on me is like you can go and look up or download any movie pretty much you want to watch. You want to watch something instantly. Like there's no waiting. Like there's an anticipation for maybe a movie to come to the theater, but but you could look up anything about that movie coming out right now at your fingertips on the internet.
Right.
There was nothing that you had to wait for to be published to find out more.
There's no hopeful anticipation.
Yeah, so there's that like even another layer like of anticipation that is like gone, that like I used to get so excited.
Oh, sure.
You know, and I used to like when the game came out and I finally did get it, you'd open up like the booklet and there'd be all the artwork inside and you know, all that kind of stuff. And even like with music, like you get the new album and you'd want to see what the what artwork
CD.
and the pictures inside and the lyrics and all that.
Right. Is there a secret song? at
Right.
the
Is there a
end?
secret song at the end? You didn't know.
Yeah.
So it was just like, you know, along with that, like the instant that we have now, it's much more. I just like peeled back like the onion peel like over. Like I was like, man, we really. And what is that doing to us? Like I've become so much more impatient. Like I just want things to work, and you know I feel like that might be a result of it. But like man, like Maggie's never gonna be in a world where she just can't get something. Like
this is where I got to give a shout out to Mike Tomlin for the genius that he is. I'm anticipating another season when the Steelers are actually relevant and can compete. So he's holding me in anticipation, and I really appreciate that. Now that you're saying that, I have a new appreciation for him on that.
Well, and we've talked
Because
before.
it's going to be 5 years or never again.
We could tell what's on Brian's mind. But yeah, and we've talked about it for like vacation. Like anticipation of the beach is sometimes the best part of of
Yeah.
it all. Not that you don't have a good time, but it's like
Like the week leading up to the beach.
yeah, oh, it's so exciting.
Beach week is such and like that night before is wonderful.
Yeah.
And Eric, to your point, if you look at when we hang out on Tuesday nights and we're watching a meaningless, dumb reality show, who looks ahead to find out who wins or loses before we get to the end?
The new the younger
losers.
The
kids.
25 and under
Yeah.
crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
They cannot wait to find out.
Yeah, I don't like finding
which
out.
is crazy because yeah, the fun of it is like,
Well, for you, it's
don't know.
gambling.
Oh, that's true. I like to put some money down on reality TV.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. So it was just a thought that I had.
So, in a not similar vein, I was in a meeting the other night, Young Life Committee meeting, and many of you know RD, great man of God, everything else, getting a little older. And
We all are.
And he's sitting to my left, and my man Donnie Bino Jones is sitting to my right.
Hey, Donnie Bina.
And I don't love the meetings because, like, for the first hour they're good, and then they always go to like a second hour, and that's when I die.
I mean, who loves meetings?
Nobody. So, and I've streamlined it. Like that's
Yeah.
the best I can do to get it.
You're good at streamlining
right.
meetings.
But whatever. And so we're talking about something. There's a back and a forth. And I said something that RD clearly thought I was being funny and sort of just being whatever. And he turns and he goes, "Shut up."
And go ahead. This is a
Let's assume I was being funny,
I
which I wasn't.
still feel disrespected for you.
I can't think of the last person I told, "Shut
no.
up."
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
it's like that's like somebody just coming out and hitting you in your head.
That is a weird. Yeah.
So then a few minutes later, I did say something funny. And Donnie pretended to swing and hit me in the face.
You love getting hit in the head.
And it was so great because our guy, Jace, he's across the table from me. He's like all the way across. And he just looks at me and I stare at him and he almost dies. Like he almost dies because he knows. And then a few minutes later, RD said something else to me. And I said, "RD, you told me to shut up and Donnie almost hit me." I said, "I'm about to hurt somebody." And he goes, "You took that personally?" Now think about great emotional responding, conflict resolution. He goes, "You took that personally?" I said, "I don't know. You said it to my face.
you said it to
So
my
didn't
person.
appreciate it very much at all."
Did he at all say it like yeah?
No,
just
he
like,
goes, "Shut
"Ah,
up."
shut. You know, you
It
guy."
was shut up.
That's weird.
Yeah.
wow. And then he ignored it.
And then later on, another committee member who I really like, she and I go back probably 20, 30 years at this point. Golly, how old am I? And there was just a topic that she knows I'm frustrated with and I can't do anything about and everything else. She's like, "Well, Jay, what about that?" You know, and I just went, "Yep, that's something we could talk about, but there's really no developments on that right now." And later on, she's like, "Yeah, I was trying to needle you." And I went, "Yeah, that wasn't the time." So that wasn't the time at all.
That sounds like a miserable meeting.
There were good things in it, but that was miserable moments. Yeah, but then I was telling Rachel about it, and I was like, I don't think maybe a player at some point shut your mouth. I probably would have said maybe, but that's as a coach to a player who's being disrespectful to
right.
somebody. Like, shut up,
Shut up
adult
is-
to an adult.
yeah.
It's weird. Feels weird.
Feels what's that from?
I don't know.
Feels weird. Anyhow,
Like even joking around in the best of times.
oh,
with your
shut up.
I can't. Like I don't even. I can't
not-
even
not
get
a fan
there.
of that.
I can't even get there.
And it wasn't that. It wasn't shut up. It was shut up.
Yeah. Like I don't know when the last time I told somebody to shut up would be.
In my head?
Maybe demons. Like when I
Frequently.
when I pray or something. You know. But
You
like,
don't. You're not praying to demons.
well, I'm not praying to demons, but like if there's like spiritual warfare, just like
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
you know,
Perhaps.
But
Shut up, Satan.
human beings.
But I'm going to counter that with this. I came across a woman today at Sam's Club as I was leaving who was our waitress when we would go to King's. After work at Churchill Country Club, we'd play basketball up at Duff Park. We'd be at King's from
The King's right on Frankstown.
Lime Hollow in Frankstown.
Yep.
We'd be there from like midnight till 2:30 in the morning. K-Boy
Kitchen
burger
sink.
I would get. Platter, fries, and slaw.
Mm.
Anyhow, and then she went on to work at the Poorhouse and Mohan's. You guys have seen her at Mohan's. She always gives me crap anytime she sees me, like
Okay.
really rough and whatever. But 55-minute conversation talking about how her son died, how her husband passed away a few years ago, and how she keeps herself busy by just helping out with other people. And she's, you know, she just came from her her church lunch at St. Bernadette's, and I said, "Isn't that Holy Redeemer?" She goes, "It's St. Bernard."
It's like a science field.
And she's talking about, "Hey, I have my rosary meeting tonight and whatever else." And and I said, "Well, it's like in the full armor of God." And she just looks at me. I'm like, "You know about the full armor of God? It's in Ephesians." Still blank stare. She goes, "I don't do the Bible." I went, "You should." But I told her about #stand, and she cried 4 different times. And I'd love to start keeping track. Like,
How many times you make people cry?
I think I'd like to say I'm in the presence of them when they cry. I don't know that I'm making them cry.
You make me sad.
Yeah, well, that's a different story. But it was really cool, and it was one of those things where I went, and this is why you go out and about, and also, and it might be part of a sermon later. Too often we say, some people plant seeds, some people water it, some people sow the seeds, some people grow the seeds, some people harvest, blah, blah, blah.
Some people reap.
And that's sort of, and some people reap. John reap. But some people, when we hear that, we think like, well, okay, I'm a sower. I just plant seeds. I'm not really one to grow the seeds, or I'm not one to. But I also wonder if that applies to the fact that, like, I was out and about in the community as a high school kid, acting like an idiot, but I met her, and we continued to build the relationship. And I mean, this was the single serious conversation we've ever had in our lives. It's always very antagonistic, But I find that like there's people that I say like, "Hey, whatever you need, whenever you need it, whatever." And it's 15 years later, and that's when they finally ask me something.
Right.
So it's an interesting looking at the seed concept.
Sure.
That you planted it. God and I planted it 20 years ago.
Right. But you're sowing it now.
Right. And,
Right.
we're going to harvest it in another year or two.
Right. Yeah, you just never know how what's going to happen with God's timing.
There you go.
I wonder if she's the same waitress that we always used to dine and dash on from
No,
Kings.
by
I
the
hope
way,
it's not.
Let's stop with the we. We, you, not we, we.
Not any of us.
Yeah.
No, me and my knucklehead friends. We,
All right.
Yeah, it wasn't any of us. Like, we never did that.
Probably not. She would have chased you.
Okay.
And caught you.
I feel bad about it.
Chased you down.
Wait, Betsy. Was that the other one at King's? There was one. She was just like me. Like, she'd throw food at me.
Well, if her
Like,
name's Betsy.
Betsy was rough, man. I got to.
You don't F with Betsy's.
I do miss Kings though.
Do you?
I do too.
I like Kings. I like the
Kings. Yeah.
Well, is the one on 286?
They're
still
all
there?
gone.
They're all gone.
All
man.
of them.
All of them are gone.
I don't know.
Really?
If
All the trees are brown.
skies are gray.
Yeah.
they should open up one next to Haas's out on 22.
Yeah, right near the deck.
Dude, that would be awesome. Like just like a row of like failed restaurants that
Ponderosa.
you kind of missed that you just want to visit sometimes.
Once.
Yeah, right. And then go and be like, yeah.
Because dude, I love Haas's.
Oh, Red Bull.
Red Bull and
Sweet Williams. I can go all night.
So my update is that we have a very fun weekend coming up.
Great.
All right.
My lovely wife, you know her as Amy. You've met her once or twice. I
she's
think,
been on
guys.
the pod. She sat at the table.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
She has become maybe obsessed is too strong a word, but very, very into Renaissance festivals.
Ah, yes.
And she has like multiple costumes and accoutrement. And I think she went. Like Pittsburgh Renaissance Festival is basically September or late August,
Late
like through
August
the beginning of
through-
October.
yeah.
Renfest, the kids call it.
Oh yeah, and I think she went like 3 or 4 times.
Really?
And she like planned, and I said like,
It
"Aim,
can get expensive.
I'm in for once." Yes, but this was like her thing. So
You hit a button on that.
she said to me, "Yeah," but I talked to her about that, and she's like, "But this is my time of year." And I'm like, okay,
Sure.
awesome, that's great. And she had it like all arranged because I only went once. But she's like, okay, on this day I'm gonna take Lily, and we're just gonna have Mom and Lily time. And on this day I'm gonna go, with me. And on this day I'm going with my friend Jen. Right, you guys know Jen.
Sure.
And yeah,
can
and then
picture
she
it.
and Lily even went away on a trip. Oh gosh, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago to the Pennsylvania Renaissance Festival, which is out near Hershey. Their Renaissance Festival goes through the end of October, maybe even into November. So
That's a big one.
It is a big one. And that's where our trip is. So she gets to go to that one a second time. The whole family's going. We're even taking Ben's little friend Claudia.
Claudia.
Nice.
And so the 5 of us are headed over to Hershey, Lancaster area,
Wee.
and
Where are you staying? Castle.
Amy
cool.
wishes that's next year.
No, a pauper's tent.
Pauper's tent.
I think just sort of a cheapish hotel. Yeah, this year. Yeah. But
You would have been called a king back in those days.
That's
for
right.
staying at a hotel.
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And I
Perhaps
just
Nights
really,
In.
I was searching for it. I was like, I know there's a
You're like,
hotel.
it's blue.
I know there's a hotel with a Renaissance name.
Wench's Motel.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Lancelot.
Yeah, that's gonna be
Farms.
exciting.
so
I
fun.
do. I love fall.
fun.
I love like
Yeah.
outdoor
It's
a great
things
time of
in
year
fall.
for-
You
'Cause
love
you know-
making your wife happy.
Because
I
we
love
went.
that too.
She loves
We
her
went-
family. Sorry.
That's okay. We went last year, I think, and it was a little warm.
To the Renaissance.
Yeah,
Renaissance?
was that last
Pittsburgh
year?
or
You went with
Pittsburgh,
us
yeah.
when you went with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, two warm
That
so
was
good.
2 years ago. 'Cause
That was 2 years ago?
Ian,
Yep.
Ian and Jess were there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was 2 years ago.
It was a little warm.
That was
It was
Swordgate.
warm. Swordgate. No,
yeah.
last year was Swordgate. It was, and it was just us. We went. So it was 2 years ago when we all went. We met up with you too. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then last year was Swordgate.
Edge.
It was Ethan's sword.
Ethan Swordgate.
I get that. They are cool. We gave him one for his birthday 1 year.
He's got a lot of them now.
I give him an S word.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot. As busy as my weekend 2 weekends ago was, this last weekend was pretty much a weekend of nothing. I had no hockey.
That's nice though.
It was nice. It
like
was
that.
actually really nice.
We could use one of those.
Didn't have any hockey Friday night. Didn't really do anything Saturday. Lex and I watched some Halloween kind of scary movies.
Nice. Love that.
Yeah, checked out a couple new shows. Church Sunday morning was. I really enjoyed church Sunday morning. I really enjoyed leading worship.
Yeah, worship
and
felt good.
It really did. And I mean, honestly, I think that's about it. Honestly.
Well, I'm excited that we're all here. And Mary Lynn's sitting at the table with us. As
Yep.
she's at the head of the table. She was very honored. She came across that part of the podcast as our top financial partner, contributor, appreciator. I don't know what we call that.
Head of the table.
But you two can sit at the head of the table. And we're going to figure out more about how that works. But if you would like to do that, Eric, what should they do?
They should go to lunchtimeinrome.com and subscribe, become a paid subscriber.
Do we have a donate button?
We do. If you subscribe to us already for free, if you go to our website and go to like the latest episode or whatever, you will see an opportunity to be a paid subscriber. But I will put, if there isn't a donate button in the main navigation, I'll work on that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take donations from pennies to millions of dollars. So don't limit yourself.
Crypto.
Yeah,
Crypto's
as many millions of dollars as you want to give. Like we're open to
Turkey legs?
We'll we'll barter all kinds of things.
it. Like Renaissance. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. It's
yeah.
a callback.
March, you just
Oh,
walk
long
around
callback.
Yep.
holding the turkey leg. Absolutely.
Yeah, please do. It helps out, and yeah.
So
Thank you.
growing up, and so, well, I do want to, we will clarify who is actually at the head of the table. You know, is it longest? Is it most?
I think if you donate the most, you're head of the table for a while.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
right
Mary
now
Lynn
it's
has,
me.
Mary Lynn has
No.
a firm grasp
Yeah.
of the head of
Nice.
the table. Growing up, we never went to the Renaissance Fair. We didn't. We did St. Bart's Fair.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
would do that fair.
We'll have
We
a
did
good
some other
church
things.
fair. It's fun.
But we were thinking about the podcast tonight, and one of the tools that I use when I do pre-marriage teaching or if I work with somebody is to go over what's called a childhood questionnaire. And it really, instead of saying like, "How was your childhood?" "It was good. It was okay, better than most," or "Oh my gosh, it was terrible." It breaks down, boy, how you were raised, where were the strengths, what were the weaknesses, and it helps you really identify so that when you are talking with a trusted loved one, you can share the things you went through and or remembered or discovered about your childhood. Because the bulk of the roadmap, the blueprint of your emotions today were set between 0 and 12.
And we covered this in detail over several podcasts.
Well, that was the things people need.
Okay, so that was
Yeah.
different than.
And
the,
if you didn't have 27 of the 45,
yes,
or
yes,
whatever.
childhood
yes.
essentials.
Okay, so that's different than what we're talking about.
Correct.
Here.
There was
This-
a lot of things you need.
There was a lot.
Yeah.
And we were missing a couple. And so this just helps you break down your childhood, and you'll get the gist of it as we go through. But so as we do this tonight, for those of you who are sitting with us at the table, we want you to sort of ask yourself the same questions we're asking each other, But again, the idea is you have a trusted loved one who says, man, that's so great that you knew you were loved because of this. And then they go, you know what? I know your parents did the best they could, but man, it breaks my heart that you weren't really celebrated as a soldier in the infantile army or whatever it was that you did that you were proud of, that you didn't get anything. But I also feared as I put this together that it might just be a little too serious. And so therefore, we're throwing in some random questions and that are just in general about your family so that we know that maybe your family was a little more complicated than we knew. And very often the answer will be no. But if we get a couple yeses, well, that's going to be fun.
And we're doing this roulette style.
Well, not roulette style per se, but you guys are going to say, okay, I'll take the first question. These guys don't know the questions.
Right.
So rather than just be like very, rote and routine, we're just going to randomly go around, but they'll volunteer. I'll take the next question, stuff like that. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, Eric's going to go first. This is under category of strengths. What were your father's strengths as a father? Again, don't be like, he could lift 200 pounds.
Well, that's strength.
Deep, beautiful, soothing voice.
He does have a
he
nice
does.
voice.
I won't answer for you.
Provider.
Definitely, I was going to say definitely provider. I know he sacrificed a lot, or at least he felt like he needed to sacrifice a lot to find jobs that were well paying so that he could take care of us. So he would work out of town.
Yeah.
But he was dedicated, and man, he would come home for band concerts. He would drive from Cleveland, Ohio, to come home on a Wednesday night for a band concert, and drive back to Cleveland, Ohio that night to go to bed and wake up in the morning to work the next day.
Wow.
So that was dedication. Feeling obligated to be there for those kinds of things. Yeah, that was definitely his strength for me growing up, at least.
That's awesome. Number 2.
I'll go.
Ooh, that was fast. What are your mother's strengths for you?
My mother's strengths, a high level of nurturing, and genuine love. So I feel like she really instilled in me a basis for being a loving, peaceful person. Safe, up to a certain point, it was a very safe environment for me. In those very
traditional
up until 12, not up until 12, but those birth that birth to 12-year-old time it's
like she always stayed home,
very
right?
she was
So it's very consistent,
very vulnerable. Like those are vulnerable times, and it was a very safe.
You
safe
knew
place.
mom was home when you
Mom
were
was
going to be
home,
home,
and there was never a question of feeling unsafe or forgotten in any kind of way.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. And by the way, as we do
That's
this,
good.
it doesn't have to go in order.
It's a really good way of putting that.
Yeah. Doesn't have to go in order, so somebody can go twice, whatever else. So
I'll jump in for 3 for now.
okay,
Yeah.
has anyone in your family ever been run over by a car, truck, or train?
That's the question? A car, truck, or train?
Or even hit by? Maybe not run over.
Yeah, run over.
And it
is
can be
a little more
extended
good.
family.
Gosh, I don't think so.
Boring. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. I think maybe somewhere in the past, I could see a train.
A stagecoach,
Yeah,
stagecoach
maybe
incident. Yeah.
I don't even a car. Let me think.
Ooh,
Car
or
accident.
did
I'll
they
tell you
ever-
what.
Go ahead.
So the closest thing I can get is my sister, when she was a teenager, was in a really bad car accident.
That's not very fun.
And no, sorry, I took the funny question. I'm making it
Your
sad.
question was one of your family members run over? Well, that's fun. And then you're like, well, that's not very fun if they were in a serious accident.
That's completely different and not
Wait, she was
fun.
in a car? Oh, that's not fun. I'm talking like flipping over the top. Go ahead.
So my family would. This is when when the kids were a little older. Parents mostly, but occasionally as teenagers, we would accompany them to Titty Ute near Titusville.
Oh man, dude, this
Where?
Is,
Titty Ute
let's keep it PG. Okay?
on the
Talks about his
man.
sisters.
on the
Stop
Allegheny
dropping out.
River up there in Northwest PA, and to the Landmark Inn to get wings. They had Wednesday wing night, and my sister and 2 of her friends were there one night, and then they left on their own and were driving back home, and just I don't know, took a turn too sharp or something and ran into a tree. And they're all fine, everything's fine, but they hit it hard enough that the truck caught fire.
Oh boy.
Oh, wow.
And they were all like so sore, but they were able to get out of the vehicle and like make their way to a house to call for help. Wow. That's the
Jeez,
closest
crazy.
I got.
Wait, were they on the way or the way back?
The way home.
Oh, so they got wings.
So they got their wings.
Yeah. That's what counts.
So they had something to eat while they were
Though
waiting.
I will say that my dad was once driving past Seneca, and a kid was walking his dog. And this is like, I don't even know if I was born yet. And the dog ran across the road and dragged the kid, and my dad hit the kid.
Oh man.
Oh, wow.
Kid lived.
Jeez, wow.
So who's next? Oh, you want him to go again? Since
Yeah, I'll
got
go
a-
again.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. What were your? This is now on to weaknesses. What were your? What was your father's weaknesses as a father? Like what was he not great about?
Okay. I would say, oh gosh, that's hard. Like, obviously,
Oh, by the way, sorry,
yeah.
I say this when I hand this out and I work with people and everything else. Everybody's parents tried.
Right.
Everybody's
Well,
got
that's not true.
weaknesses too.
But most times,
most people-
it's assumed
Right.
that your
Well,
parents
and we
tried,
started this.
At least
and
the
they
level.
weren't raised.
Was your childhood healthier or was it complicated?
Yes.
Both. right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're not saying they're
No.
the worst, and no parent was the best, no parent was the worst.
No, and I will say, and I think I've said this on pod before. Like, I have no real complaints about my childhood. I felt like
Just diagnosing his weaknesses.
yeah, exactly. So I would say maybe some. I think we had a lack of time spent maybe to get just like him and I together. Like over the years, as I sort of reflect back on childhood, I would say that would maybe be a weakness. Does that fall into a category that would be
Yeah,
what
I mean,
you're looking
it
for?
would be attention. Didn't
Yeah.
pay enough attention to
Sure,
you.
sure, and not like I mean, we did family things together, and we did, but looking back, I think I could have used a little more just him and me time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that would go to your need for belonging. Did you matter because you were his son? Yeah, did he pull you aside as an individual? Not just respect you as a human being, but boy, you're my boy. And
Right,
we're going
right.
to spend father-son time.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
in my family, father-son time meant we had chores to do.
Yeah.
Father-son time. If we had Father-son day, it was never let's go somewhere. No, it was
Yeah.
I had to help dad do work.
That was a strength of my dad. I mean, not that you're asking me, but that was a strength
Well,
of
I
my
think
dad.
we can all chime in.
Yeah, where
Sure. Yeah.
he
It's not your turn, Brian.
golfing. I mean, we were always doing something, usually. And I remember like being real young and like after dinner, we'd go in the living room and it'd just be roughhouse time, like my mom's watching TV and we're just kind of roughhousing. And so that was a big strength. Like my dad was great
We're on
for
weaknesses,
that.
though.
Well, I'm talking about,
I think we can always celebrate. We can always celebrate.
my dad did one thing we did do together. He took me out for my 21st birthday. Where'd we go? The Landmark Inn in Tidiu.
Got to watch that bend.
That's right.
Who's next?
I'll go.
Good. What were your mother's weaknesses? Eric's like, I'm seeing a pattern and I ain't answering the next one.
So my mother listens to
got
this
both mom
podcast.
questions.
Yep, my mother listens to this podcast, and
And she knows who she is.
everybody knows that I do love my mom. This is not critical.
You can pass, by the way.
I'm not going to pass. I want to talk about my mom's weaknesses. I would say
Lesser strengths.
Being too
her
nurturing.
she has a high need for security, and I think that her from so much trauma that she endured throughout the course of her life, and I see it in retrospect now a lot better than I did obviously when I was a teen, but
Got a little more clarity now, do you?
a little bit more. But I think I've got more clarity because we've been doing this podcast, and
Oh,
discussing,
gosh, yeah.
like to now in retrospect go back and see my parents through the lens
She had no
of
other
this.
choice but to.
Right. So because of her high need for security, we had and my need for not really a need for security at all. We really butted heads quite a bit, and I think the inability or the unwillingness to let there be an ebb and flow or a something that over the weekend that Lex and I hit on was with our kids. Are they exploring or are they outright rebelling? And I think that's a really because we kept coming back to it because there were some things over the weekend that we had to deal with within the house.
Swords.
So are they exploring or were they rebelling?
Or both?
So I think based on my experience as I became a teen, what could have just ended with exploration because of that need for security and control went into pushing me into a rebellion.
Well, especially with your need for respect.
My need for respect and I have no need for, no real need for security. And I don't.
Because she had it all.
Yeah, right.
I'm serious. I'm not making
took it all.
fun.
She took it all.
So, man. And that's such a great illustration because it's nobody would question the intent.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you think about how I answered her strength. She provided a loving, safe home for me. She provided a consistency.
And she cared about your security more than you did.
And she cared about, and then when I reached a certain point, all of the things that were great became that weakness, and at least from my perspective.
Right.
Which I think is a really interesting two sides of the same
Her
coin.
greatest weakness is really a strength. Michael Scott.
Yeah. See what I
But
did
to
there?
that end, we talk about emotional needs, and you might have a high need for something because it was always met or it was never met, and you may have no need for it because it was always met.
Yeah.
So you're like, "Ugh, I don't want that.
Right.
So
This need is worn out.
next question.
I'm going to
take
go. Oh.
Eric won.
I'll take
Did
it.
your family use country crock containers for things other than margarine?
They still do.
Did everybody?
We never used country
I
crock.
feel like it's more
Or
of a
margarine?
we did. I don't. Okay, we really don't do that. Amy and I like.
keep.
No, I meant
keep
growing up.
containers.
Growing up.
Yeah, growing up, yes. That was my answer to the original
Right.
question. But I'm saying, like, I feel like that's more of a generational thing now that I think about it. Because I'm like, I'm real disappointed if I open up a container and it's not
What it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's like, nobody wants this. Or it's like moldy because we forgot about it.
Why do we have 6 containers of margarine? We use butter in this house.
But yeah, dude.
I'll say that we reuse containers all the time.
We just have Tupperware now.
Wonton soup containers, like the tall plastic ones that you
I
get.
do like those.
Oh man, we use those for
Those
everything.
are good.
Those are
Yeah.
handy.
But they're
And
clear.
they stack well.
But they're clear and you
Yes.
can see what's
Right.
in
That's
them.
true.
Right.
That's
See,
true.
like if you're opening up like cottage cheese and it's like,
Meatballs.
chili.
well, I'd kind of be okay with that if it was meatballs.
What about the moldy meatballs?
Well, that would be sad.
Have you ever drank out of a wonton soup container?
Oh, absolutely.
Wait, drink
He's
what?
like, that's what I use
Not,
for my
the,
water.
not wonton soup. I mean, like you made a drink and used that as a glass.
Oh, I thought you meant drinking.
It's
my
like there's
soup.
one on my
Yeah.
nightstand right now.
No,
it's
I
my
have-
night water.
I've not- That's what my dad used at the landmark. No, just kidding. No, I never have. Never have. I do like to drink my soup sometimes, though.
All right, now we're going to focus on you in between 0 and 12.
Oh, okay. I'll go.
Chris, what did you like about yourself as a kid?
Between 0 and 12.
Oh man,
You're not grading it. It's the ages.
Right.
He's
right,
like, I was
right.
an 11. Like, I know, nobody's understanding this.
what did I like about myself?
Breaks my heart how long this is taking.
I considered myself. Oh, I'm sorry. Considered myself smart. So I thought, especially not. I won't say all the way up to 12 because I did start to slack, procrastinate, and stuff. I did not like that about myself. But in like elementary school, I considered myself smart. I considered myself fast. I was proud of my speed, boys.
Did you get shoes to like prove it? Did you get like shoes?
Huffies.
Every time I was a
Tufts. What am I trying to say? Huffy was a bike.
I was no. See, this is okay.
PF Flyers.
Toughies.
Here's a little story to go with it.
That was an insult in my good.
When I was in elementary school, first of all, my house was right across the street from our high school and adjacent to the high school parking lot. And so that parking lot was like our playground.
Yeah.
And we had a ton of kids in our neighborhood at that time, which was a really cool way to grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of neighborhood kids and a place to play.
Yep.
And so we spent a lot of time in the parking lot, and then we would play tag like especially as we got a little bit older, like maybe upper elementary, after dark,
Oh, that's so much fun.
in like the parking lot, and then my yard was right next door, and then like the next couple of neighbors' yards,
Yeah.
and I rocked tag. I rocked gorilla tag, especially. I liked gorilla.
Gorilla tag?
Yeah, that's like the one where you
It's like a release.
you tag somebody and then they're with you, and so. For those of you not it kept getting harder and harder because there
You
were more
became
people who were
outnumbered.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Fun times.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think we called
That's a
that
cool
zombies.
story, man.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
I loved my childhood. I
Tag
really did.
at
Like
night.
fun times.
That was
just
that is fun.
limitless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a childhood.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember playing. It's now Rolling Hills Church, but I remember playing Release there. It was great for Release at Boy Scouts.
Yep. Because
those-
they also had the swing set and stuff in the back, so you had places to hide. And
Oh
whatnot.
yeah.
Yeah, we had the express written consent of Denny Finnegan, who was the pastor, to play there, and they called the police. The neighbors called the police 3 different times.
Aw.
And the third time, the policeman said, "Look, I know you're allowed to be here, and I know you're not making any noise." He goes, "And I can't tell you who called the police. I can tell you it's not the first house on the left, and I can tell you it's not the third house on the left." Anybody else want to answer?
And I
what
can
they'd
give
like
you
to-
these dozen eggs, and
Yeah.
I can. Yeah.
I thought I was a good like artist. Like I could draw, and I really like doing that. Yeah.
Sweet. Who's next?
I'll
Go
go.
ahead. I'll go.
No,
Oh,
no,
for the
I'll
next
go-
question.
Yeah, I'll go for the next.
Cool. What did you like least about yourself as a child?
When I was a child, or looking back now,
As a child.
what I like least.
Friends
about
like
myself?
still nothing. Else.
I don't know, man. I mean, I was such a happy, content kid.
You want me to take this one?
Sure, go
I
for
will
it.
take it.
Yeah,
What you didn't like about Brian as a child?
Absolutely. No, seriously. Do you want me to?
go for it.
I have some things I didn't like about
I'll
myself.
say this might be episode 220.
I was small, scrawny, you might say.
Yeah, it's tough. But you were fast.
I was fast.
Or was he just hard to reach?
I was some of my. I had, I mean, like some different friend groups, and like I already talked about, like neighborhood stuff. And in my neighborhood, especially when I was younger, a lot of the other boys in the neighborhood were like a year or two older than me. So I
Small
at
for your
times-
age and young for the crowd.
Yes, and so I
Didn't quite
often
fit
felt
in.
awkward that way, and then as I got older,
Did you think you were awkward? Like I think
you
there's a
feel
difference.
awkward?
Yeah, right.
yeah, right. I felt. I don't know if I would say I felt awkward, but I felt there were some times where I remember feeling like maybe I didn't quite belong or didn't, that sort of thing. And then as I got a little older, I would say I just awkward. We'll just keep the word awkward there. Like that was definitely like growing up. I always had a sense of like, I'm weird, awkward.
I think you saying that, I think the one thing for me was I did feel fearful when I wasn't in like the comfort zone with the friends that I knew and the area that I knew. I mean, and we would go play from dusk till dawn, or from dawn till dusk, and we had all these woods. I mean, so like I always felt very comfortable with a group of people being in a certain kind of a place. But when like other kids would come to play that I didn't really know, I got real uncomfortable, I think would be the word. Uncomfortable and a little bit afraid to go outside of my comfort zone. So and I don't.
Which is that's not you today.
No, not at all.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, but I think back then, like I don't know if I was self-aware enough to be able to put that into words, but I think looking back at myself, that's what I probably didn't like about myself.
This is a little off topic, but what woods did you play in?
So, my parents' house?
Yeah.
Right across the road, there's just that
Oh,
yeah, just
down like by the creek and
Behind Mike's
sort of
spot.
like the backyard of all
yeah,
the
right.
yeah. Gotcha.
Right, and there's like a polluted stream
Yeah,
that goes through there.
yeah.
that
Oh,
we
there was
used to
always
play
a
in.
little polluted.
I've
stream to
always
play in.
wanted. Now I've only lived there as an adult, but I've
Yeah.
always wanted to go back there and just see what's there.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. It was a lot of
Playing
fun.
in the woods we killed a snake with like a He-Man sword one day.
A lot of swords in this talk tonight. Next.
I'll go.
Did you ever have red or green carpet in your house growing up?
My parents still have it. It's in the dining room.
In the dining room.
Red
Yeah.
and green.
They had red and
Red and green
in
shag.
The
It's
dining
like
room.
alternating.
It's not shag. It's a tight.
Oh, it's a tight, like almost velvet.
Yes, because it's not like what's the?
Like you roll it more than you vacuum it.
Berber.
It's not like I don't think it's like
No,
Berber.
Berber is when it goes up and comes back down.
Yeah, it's not that.
Okay.
No, it's just like that.
Yeah.
Like it rolled out.
And then we had green in the living room.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
What about in the bathroom? Anybody have carpet in the bathrooms?
We did.
Yes, we did. Green carpet and in the bathroom.
Was that another question?
Yes.
Sorry, Jay.
What about a squishy toilet seat?
Yes.
One of my sets
Carpet
of
in the
grandparents had
bathroom
that.
is just not okay.
No.
Well, we had.
It was weird.
But it was interesting.
What
We
wasn't
had-
weird then?
Yeah, we had. And I will say
To me as a kid, I'm saying.
Pee flies. Pee flies.
It
I mean,
does.
if you're standing up, it's going to fly.
but
onto the
we had
carpet.
it. It wasn't
What
like.
if you threw up and it splashed?
Well, I'll say this. It wasn't like carpet that was installed. It was a carpet that we could like peel up and then put in the washer.
Well, that's okay.
But it wasn't a rug. Like it wasn't that. It was like it covered the whole floor.
Oh, really?
Yes, like behind the toilet, and like it was like
Yeah.
it was the most.
You had Velcro carpet in your
I'm telling you,
I
it
thought
was
he had,
so
like-
weird.
He had carpet like almost like you take out a post-it note. Like you take out a post-it note.
Oh,
off
that
and
one's
rip-
ruined. Throw it away. Next one.
There's
That
another
would have
one.
been better.
There's another one.
No, that would
The
have been
windshield
better.
for like the rally car drivers.
No, I
You just
remember
get-
like going back and like peeling from behind the toilet, like getting. I'm like, oh,
Oh, that's
man.
even worse than carpet, I think, because you like have to put your hand on it.
But it was washable.
Was it?
I mean, I thought it was. I mean, it was because it would come out fluffy. Like it was interesting. I haven't thought about that in
We have
a
carpet.
minute.
I would say we had carpet in our basement growing up, except it's there to this very day. And actually, most of you, if you've been to the Jingle Bar over at Mary Lynn's,
Oh, yeah.
have seen it. That's that same kind of carpet. I think like is in your
Yes. I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah.
But it's all board games and roulette tables and everything else.
okay,
Is
yeah.
the
Like
actual
face
carpet?
cards, yeah.
yeah, and that was the bedroom. Oh, that'd be another good question. All right, next question.
I'll go.
How did your family praise you?
Who in and how did?
Who did and how did your family praise you? Who in your family
Who in
praised
your
you?
family praised you and how?
Yeah.
Probably my mom. Again, up until a certain point. No, I think she was very consistent in pointing out a lot of good things. I remember, especially before the rebellion years, up until that point, she would very frequently do these things where, like, if I got a good grade or something, I'd come home and she'd have like stickers,
Aw.
or things like that, like scratch and sniff books or something like that, something incentivizing.
We could spend a good 20 minutes on scratch and sniff
Oh my
stickers.
gosh! I still have. She gave me one of my books
Still love.
that was like, and I could still scratch.
She was like, "You really
Yeah.
led
That's
worship
amazing.
great last week."
Here's your scratch and sniff from
Man,
when
if
you
she
were
does that, then
Anybody
man,
ever
if she-
have a dill pickle scratch and sniff?
No.
Yes,
I
I think it's in my book. I'll bring.
Nice.
I'll bring that scratch and
What was
sniff.
like
not
smoke
next
was
week.
one of the worst ones, and like there's a couple that were just the grossest.
Oh, man.
Saw smoke.
I don't remember any of those. I just remember them all being like fruit, like sweet smelling things.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys did some weird ones. It's like Garbage Pail Kids.
I was
Well,
not-
it was
I
before
not
they
to
came
have
out
those.
with like the crazy jelly beans.
Oh yeah.
I remember Ethan had those.
Yeah.
Next up.
Nope, can't do it.
I'll go.
What was a fancy night out for dinner?
Brah.
Pizza Hut.
Nope, the wing place.
Land market? No. That was not fancy. That had holes in the wall and was a completely different
Or not, again, not
experience.
fancy. What was a
But-
special dinner?
yes.
We're going out to eat.
So, I'd like to mention a couple places. Now, first of all, Titusville, right? Small town. We did not have a lot of chains. We did have a Perkins. We had a McDonald's.
Jay said fancy.
I'm getting there.
No, I said special. I changed it.
Was the Perkins the one up in Meadville? Like, did you have to go
No,
to
it was in
Meadville?
Titusville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we had Pizza
50
Hut.
minutes from Titus.
So those were chains that we had. And I will say,
done it.
to this day, I think we've talked about this before too, like the classic Pizza Hut.
Oh,
Like,
sure.
you know what I mean? Now, that's not fancy, but that as an adult,
No,
that's
a special
nostalgia.
dinner. But is that a special
That
dinner?
was a fun place to go as a kid.
Do you
And then-
remember the Pizza Hut like all you can eat buffet.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I
IUP
remember
had
being
the
in
Katako
college
Hut. Oh man.
in my senior year in DC on my internship, just being crippled after a buffet.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I mean,
Like, I'm doing
laid
nothing.
out. People asking
Yeah.
me to play volleyball, and I'm like trying to get up.
But the fanciest,
Sure.
as a kid, we would drive to Oil City
Oh boy.
boy.
The big city.
and go to Haas's.
Yeah.
And that,
That's what I'm talking
like,
about.
come on.
Yep.
The steak,
It was
the
a big
salad
deal.
bar.
That's a big deal.
Just the-
Potatoes.
oh my gosh. As a kid, I'm telling you, that
Yeah.
was like the fancy dinner for me. It was a
Yep.
good time.
What about you guys?
The
I'm
dessert
trying
bar?
to think like fancy though. Like I
What was
remember
special. No, what was special? Like, what was a special dinner?
a special
We're going out.
dinner.
Hosses.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we like
The Haas is up at
there would be special occasions where we'd go like to the Grand Concourse or something like that.
Oh, heavens.
But but that was like few and far in between.
Sure.
Like it was like if we were going out, like we'd go to Haas's. Yeah, like it wasn't. I mean, my mom cooked a lot.
Sure.
You know.
I'll say the legit fanciest thing that I remember doing, like as a family, other than maybe on vacation where you go to like an expensive like seafood place or something once in a while. And I don't know the name, but there was a Chinese restaurant. We would drive to Erie, and there was this
Wow.
like fancy Chinese restaurant that was awesome. Like you'd walk over a little bridge over like a
Yeah.
stream with
Dude,
koi
have
in
you
it.
ever been
Inside.
Well, no.
Have you ever
But
been to Jimmy Wan's?
Oh.
I have not. I want to, but I
Dude,
have
it's
not.
awesome.
Okay.
I haven't been in years, but I want to go back. Yeah,
15
Jimmy
years since I've been at Jimmy John's.
That's what we say
But
every
dude, I love
time we
Jimmy
drive
John's.
up 28, Joe.
Oh,
That's
Jimmy
like
Wan's.
Sharpsburg,
Jimmy Wan's.
Aspinwall,
Blawnox.
Blawnox. Yeah.
Well, you said fancy, and something came to mind because my brother brought this up not too long ago. When we were having fancy dinner at home, we had the Viennetta premium. What's it called?
Ice cream cake?
It's like ice cream. It was made by Brars, but it was the '90s. It was this. I don't know if you guys have ever. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember those?
Like a
90s. I was in
boxed
college.
I mean,
ice
I
cream
remember
cake kind of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I
I don't remember
remember, yeah, Viennetta if you want to look it up. But I remember like my mom would like cut it and it would be presented like on the good
Nice. Yeah.
on the good dishes. And like I was excited because it was good. I mean, it was a good dessert. Like it was delicious. But like that just popped in my mind. I was like, oh, it's like when I
that's
saw that
fancy.
come out, I was like, oh, it's fancy tonight.
What's funny for me is, and this is like why you do this, and which is funny because in my childhood questionnaire, this question is not in there. Like this is one of the lighthearted questions. But I sit here and I go, like, I don't remember eating out as a child. And again, I was the fifth of 5 kids.
Yeah.
Dad traveled a lot with Westinghouse. I know the big deal was originally, so my mom went to St. Joe's. We belonged to St. Joe's Church, but her father, Pop-Up Bronner, went to St. Bart's. So my dad would take Pop-Up Bronner to church, and one kid got to go to early 8:30 service with Pop-Up Bronner and Dad. And you would go to St. Bart's, and then you would go get donuts at Donut Shack.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was
Oh, Donut
$2
Shack
for a
donuts.
dozen.
Yeah.
But then that morphed in, we stopped going to Donut Shack and we would go to McDonald's for breakfast. And that was the thing. If you got to be the one that got to go. And so that was a big deal. But like I sit here, and now I do know that we would have special dinners, and this is going to sound funny, at Churchill Country Club.
Yeah.
But I'm talking like once a couple years or whatever. But that's something I'm going to have to talk to Mary Lynn.
Special dinner, like, do you mean like for a wedding or like some kind of like
No, like
somebody
it's your
had their
birthday.
but like
It's-
50th birthday?
Oh, you mean it's a country club?
Yeah.
Oh, it would be like a Mother's Day and my grandfather was buying.
Yeah,
or
right. I
like-
feel like that's more my like. We definitely went out to eat, but if you're talking fancy, that was I feel like.
But I'm
fancy
saying I
was-
can't think
yeah.
of family vacation. We would go once up in Erie.
like you just going
We'd
out
go
like
to the
you,
Dudley
you
Inn.
and your siblings.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
all right, who's next?
I'll go.
Man, you're firing away.
I mean, unless you want to go.
Nope.
I mean, go ahead. I mean, I'll answer whatever.
Who and how did your family criticize you?
This one's tough because I don't really remember being like.
You know, I think I'm going to start asking questions and then anybody can answer.
Well, because
50 minutes in.
I was,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember being like criticized.
Yeah, me neither.
I remember being like, I remember like my mom saying like, "You're smarter than this." You know, like there would be that kind, and like at some level that could be like some kind of like criticism because like I have a high need of support, and it's like I'm kind of not, and I need you to come alongside me and help me with this thing, you know. And my grandma would say the same thing, that kind of thing.
You're smarter than this is a sneaky one. Because
And she's not wrong. She's
I
not
want to
wrong.
encourage you.
Yeah, and she's not wrong. And this is one of those things where it's like, you know, my mom's a good mom, but like, you know, you don't know that.
Right.
You know, nobody knows this stuff like we do. But like, yeah, that would probably be the only one. But like, my mom was always very encouraging, you know,
Well,
you know, in the same breath.
My grandma used to say, "Don't cry, dummy." Gosh, that was encouraging.
How has that never come up
That was
in
encouraging.
all these years?
Well, not to me. I would just hear her say that to other family
I'm going to
members.
say that to you all
That's
the
encouraging,
time.
right? I mean, that's encouragement.
That's
She's
it.
encouraging you not to cry.
Don't cry,
and,
dummy.
her name was Betsy. I mean, Betsy's a hard
You
girl.
don't mess with Betsy.
You don't mess with Betsy's.
Man, that's
That was her way. That was
crazy.
her way of being kind and
See, for me, I would say almost nobody, if anybody, well, certainly my sister just above me, and then certainly my brother would criticize me. But as far as parents, my mother would be the only one that would come close to it, and it's if I was impolite. She would come quick with the criticism. We don't do that. You don't do that. Blah blah blah. And certainly not my dad at all.
Yeah, like I'm saying, like I'm kind of the same way. Like it's just not. It really wasn't a thing. If mine was a stretch.
Has anyone in your family ever represented themselves in court?
Represent
I have.
themselves.
I have.
Really?
Yeah. Whenever I crossed the picket line, whenever my dad's company went on strike, and I had been cutting grass, kind of looking for another job while I was starting to figure out what I wanted to do in life. So I crossed the picket line and started working in the warehouse. And
At your dad's
your
warehouse
dad's
while
on
he was
strike?
picketing?
no.
Oh, that's what I got.
I'm so lost.
No,
right
no,
now.
no.
Dad.
No, no,
I'm
no.
so got to make a buck.
No, my dad worked for a lumber company in the office, and then
Oh, he was administration. He was.
he was in sales.
They were on strike against him and the other bosses.
So the guys in the warehouse were idiots, and they thought, hey, we're going to form a union.
Sure.
You know, we're laborers, and we're against the brass in the office. So, anyways, they tried to start a picket line. It ended up failing, but I ended up crossing it.
With the lawnmower?
They messed up. Yeah. No.
Dumb.
They ended up vandalizing my car, which it was hard to tell because I did a really good job vandalizing my own car, you know, as a 17-year-old.
Done it up pretty good.
But we went to court, and I was a witness, and
You're a plaintiff.
I was a plaintiff and represented myself and the company.
How'd you do?
Good. I was pretty high.
Oh my gosh. In court?
Yeah, I used to get high all the time before everything. Hockey,
You're like,
doctor,
I can't handle this
doctor's
right now.
appointments. Let me smoke a joint.
Before a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, let me go get my physical.
Let me go get my blood drawn.
Brian, your eyes seem red.
I'm really nervous about my blood pressure. You're 17.
You start peeing in a cup, Brian. We don't need
not a
that
thing.
right now. But
Nobody asked you to do that.
So that was my experience with court.
Wow, that's outstanding.
that's a no for me. At least as far as I know. As far as I know, I don't.
How did you know that your family loved you?
I love you, dummy, was what my grand. No, that's
Oh man.
When I think back to moments, like memories will like come up, you know, and I'll think about how it made me feel very loved. So there's one example. I was in kindergarten, and we had is the kindergarten bus still a thing? Like they put kindergartners on a different bus? I don't think it is. Never mind.
No, they all go to the same school.
Yeah.
Right. But we had a kindergarten bus.
We did. But I was bussed over to Lincoln Park, you know, the whole busing thing back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Nope. Swip swap. I went to Lincoln Park. Kids over there came to Penn Hills. Know what I'm saying?
That's weird. So I would normally ride the kindergarten bus. One day,
You're a senior.
He was
He was
just
so
as tall.
small.
He was just as tall as the other one. But man, he was fast.
We're all the same size, Jerry. We're the same level.
Oh my gosh.
Chris, what were you saying?
One day, my mom came to pick me up, so I wasn't riding the bus home. And we just lived like, 5 blocks from the school. It was a walk anyway.
Everything in Titusville's a walk. Going.
Right. And so she was waiting for me with my little baby sister at the time in the stroller, and she came to pick me up, and we walked home together, and she had brought me a brownie wrapped in aluminum foil that she gave me for a snack on the way home. I felt very loved.
Wow.
Nice. The fact that she came and got you also.
I was very encouraged. There were a lot of encouragement.
Which is kind of interesting when the complaint or the criticism was, you're smarter than that.
Right.
It's an encouraging criticism.
Right. But yeah, a lot of encouragement. You can do this. I believe in you.
Dummy.
For me,
That was Brian, not me.
No, Brian's dummy. For me, it was like all my needs were met, like that I thought of. You know what I mean? Like, mom was home, dad was providing, we had structure, we had consistency. There was.
Yeah.
Now, is
there
that
was a
looking
lot of-
back, or
that's
you felt
interesting.
like at the time you were...
Well, at the time, it was just like it was life. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you
okay.
know, but-
That's interesting because I remember like my dad was like a contractor. So like at any moment,
I mean, my dad traveled for Westinghouse. He'd be
Yeah.
gone for 2 weeks. He'd be in Japan. In
but I
theory.
mean like, but he could like, there could be like,
Japan.
but there could be a time where like they're like he'd be like the first one gone if they were doing layoffs or whatever. Like the job would be done, and there would always be that kind of time of like, oh, dad lost his job. Tensions are high, So that part of and that still sticks with me today. Like if when I hear somebody lose their job, oh my gosh, like there might as well be like a death in the family or something like that. That hits me so hard. Yeah.
we're rounding up to the 1 hour mark. We're more than halfway through. But
Oh, man, we should have a part 2. This is fun.
we're going to
is
have a
fun.
part 2.
Yeah, this is good, and I feel like everybody can relate to this.
Okay. Well, we can stop right there. Because if it's
Ready, stop.
Just want to say before Chris, you wrap it up. There will be no podcast next week. There's a
right.
conflict. So we will see you in 2 weeks after Chris wraps it up. Brian, did you have something to say?
Well, you say conflict, and my mind went to the way the world is right now.
Oh, not that kind of conflict.
And that's how we're gonna wrap up.
We're all headed to Israel.
Wait,
next
what was
week.
our last? Hold on. What was our last question just now?
How do you know your family?
Let's finish with a fun question.
Okay. The last one was how were you loved when, like, how were your needs met growing up or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go with this one. How often did you have pop/soda growing up?
A lot,
All the time.
Not a
All the
lot.
time.
Oh,
Yeah, all the time.
It was very rare. We had milk at dinner.
that's another one of the questions I didn't use. Did you have milk with pizza?
Yes.
I did. I did because I grew up with milk
Right.
at dinner.
That was
I
what
do
Mary
remember
Matt said
that.
when we
Now
were
I will
talking
say
about
we
it.
did have
yeah.
like later on
You
we
think
had
about
more
it now,
pop.
and you're like, well, that doesn't.
No.
But I remember my brother would have
I have milk with everything.
But there's a connection here because like we would always have milk at dinner, and my brother was in boy choir, but they couldn't drink milk before boy choir because like
Why is it so awkward? Like,
yeah.
It just sounds weird.
Because-
choir.
boy choir.
But you think,
Whoa.
like you don't want like 100 boys like clearing their throats while they're singing. So they had to drink like a clearer liquid.
Well,
So
I'm going to like 40s. Like you're talking about boy choir. Like these are my boys.
Oh no.
no
100
he,
boy choir.
So he would be able to drink pop, and I can't remember if I was also allowed to drink pop on those nights, but I think I might have been too young.
We would get
But I was always, I don't think I was because I was always jealous. I was like, Dave gets to have pop, a boy choir.
you should have
night.
joined the boy choir.
Oh gosh, no! I'm so glad I
We
didn't
would
join
get
the boy choir.
3-liter bottles
3
of
liters.
Fago Pop
Dude,
That's
those are
from
enormous.
Riverside Market in Titusville.
I think those 3 liters they put in like the tanks and shot them. Like they were so thick and chunky. They were like projectiles.
Much like the voices of the kids in boy choir when they drank milk.
Yeah, we always had pop. I remember clearly, like I used to read a ton, especially in the summertime. The pool would be open. I would read Hardy Boys books. have a pop, and like a Swiss cake roll, like every single day.
Swiss cake.
And I remember my dad they had a box at Three River Stadium, and through his company, and we would get tickets, and it was one of those boxes where like you were let into it, and it was a room, like a
That's the
kitchen,
best. That's the best.
couch, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But they had the micro fridge, and I would drink like 8, like no joke, 8 Pepsis. Like I would
Yes.
just go and just consume Pepsi every time my dad took me to watch the baseball game.
And man, that was so fun, wasn't it?
It was so much fun.
It's the
But like
best.
looking back, like I can't even like
Yeah.
think
oh
about drinking.
no, but like when you're a kid, like that's heaven. You
Think
know,
about how your mouth would feel now if you like did that.
my
because like you
mouth.
couldn't do that at home. Like you weren't allowed to do that at home.
I couldn't drink 8 Pepsis at home, but I mean,
Right.
we
But you were out with-
always had a lot of pop.
But you were out with Dad, and it was a thing,
Out
and
with
like we're
Dad,
gonna eat
right.
until we're sick and watch the game. Yeah,
Yep.
that's awesome. That's fun.
Maybe when my mother had bridge club on Thursday nights, I would be allowed 1 bottle of Pepsi. Or when I went to Pop-Ups, her dad's.
One glass bottle.
But it was
of
like
Pepsi,
the
I dare
glass
say.
It was like
Yeah.
the travel size.
That would be it. That was it. The only times she had bridge club. Well, maybe now if there was a party, like if we had a birthday party.
And it
or
wasn't
something.
even like really popular. It was like ginger ale.
No, it was Pepsi.
I used to like ginger.
We didn't do Faygo. We weren't white
Diet
trash.
Dr. Thunder.
I love Faygo, dude. Faygo Red Pop. Oh,
See, I'm old enough to remember Regent.
Cherokee Red.
Regent.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, well,
We got RC Cola sometimes. That's still a thing, isn't it?
that
They
used
have
to
it at
be the
PPG.
biggest of
PPG.
all colas.
Kind of like RC Cola.
PPG's has RC Cola.
Oh, because it's like a Canadian thing, right?
I don't know.
That's like a hockey. No connection.
That's a boy
It's
choir.
the
thing.
it's the Labatt of pop.
It's and that is how we will wrap up episode 219. Please make sure give us a like or follow on social media, and definitely visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Thanks everybody for joining us at the table for Lunchtime in Rome.
See you in 2 weeks.
Goodbye.
Bye.